Okay, let's see if anybody wants to jump in. Oh, I might just go back outside. What's going to be for lunch? Oh, hey, Jessica. What's going to be for lunch, Barbara? You're not going to say it. I don't have you on camera. I'm going to walk outside. I've got a couple of people online. Let me walk outside. My wife does not want to be online right now, so I'll walk outside here. Hear my squeaky door, and I'll go out here with the puppies and see what they're all about. Yep, that's what I'll do. We'll go out here we got a covered deck, or I guess a covered porch back here. It puts out a pretty good picture, I think. Yeah, and that way, my dog, my border collie, you want to hop up here and say hey to everybody? Huh? You want to say, let me turn it so you can be seen a little bit better. Yeah, you want to be seen? Hop up here. Yeah, you're talking. Hop up here, boy. Huh? Yeah? You sound like Lassie. Yeah, you do. Yeah. Hop up here. Yeah, hop up here. Hop up here. Huh? You can be on camera. Yeah. Well, what do you want? You're about getting into the trucking industry from teaching. Do you have any advice for a rookie? Well, my advice would be get with a good company. I don't know what companies have you checked into, but you want to build your own fleet? Well, I've got a fleet. I guess you might say I currently own probably 60 something trucks. Now I don't run all of them. We're getting ready to actually sell off a good many. I'd have to check inventory exactly how many trucks I own over the past good many years. It's taken me 32 years to get to where I'm at. So this is nothing overnight. Okay. KLLM. I see that company out there. I don't know. You're in Mississippi. Okay. Well, I'm a FedEx ground contractor. I'll tell you exactly where I'm at. I'm a FedEx ground, and I'm also at Amazon. I've leased on with Amazon. Now, if you get your own authority, authorities are expensive. Now, you don't have to have your own authority with FedEx ground. Now, that was one advantage when I started years ago, that I just came on as a contractor. Now, as a contractor, it's a little bit different. I mean, you're going under their insurance, their authority, and of course, you're only doing just their freight. Now, with my Amazon, I've got my own company called Carolina Prime Logistics, and with that company, I'm leased on to Amazon. But if I want to pull somebody else, and I have them all the time calling and want me to pull, then I can do that. But the KLLM, I've seen that company before, Jessica, but I'm not certain what all they have. But maybe somebody else out there in the trucking world can let you know more about it than I can. But I have seen a lot of their trucks. Now, what part of Mississippi are you from? If you're still in here. But, if you're, getting in, yes, if you're a contractor with FedEx Ground, you can own your truck basically is assigned to run just their freight. You don't have to have any trailers. Is the good thing about it. All you have to have is a tractor trailer if you want to pull a tractor trailer. Now, one thing you will need at least a year's worth of experience on over the road. Now, do you have Cleveland, Mississippi? Okay, so you're not too far from the Coons, then, are you? You've got to have some experience in driving, and that's the problem you're going to get in a lot of these trucking companies. 1 or 2 years experience over the road. Now, people say, well, how do you get that if you don't have it? Well, most people start off with a company like Schneider or Swift or some of these others that will put you through their training. And it's tough. It's tough. I hear the nightmares of people that sign on with Swift and Schneider, and they're out there a lot. Now, if you're a single person, I don't know if you're single or married, but if you're single, not too bad. If you're married, now that can be pretty tough because right now, if you're going to plan on driving at least 2 years to learn the business, it'll indoctrinate you pretty good. Now, if you get at least a year under your belt and you don't like over the road. Now, see, my business is primarily, team with your husband. Okay, now that's not a bad thing. Now, does your husband have any experience? Now, if he has any experience, oh, hey, JC. Okay, good. You can listen to my old Southern drawl. Now, you won't hear Barbara. Barbara, I turned on the screen. She said just a few words yesterday, but Barbara's fixing lunch for us. Okay, so your husband has no experience either. Okay, well, if y'all are going to sign on as a team, there's a lot of options out there, and that's not a bad thing. Well, thank you, JC. Husband and wife team, that's a good way to learn. Of course, it's very taxing. I will tell you that. Get with a team that will give you a good quality truck, something that they won't just throw you out there in a piece of crap. Get something with a good quality truck so you can enjoy yourself anyway with that. And then, I would suggest that you, I don't know which one would be best. Now, Swift, I've heard some nightmares about Swift and KLLM. And, I've seen a lot of theirs out there. And if they're fairly local, if it's somebody that's going to get you back to your home base, so at least you can check on your house or whatever, that's not a bad thing. But if you're a husband and wife team and you don't have children at home or anything like that, then, you can get out there and do some different things. Now, just make sure you read all your contracts good. That's one thing. You want to make sure that you're not obligated to do certain things. I hear contract nightmares on some of these people that get in and then they get out of the contract and they're strapped with a lot of money. They have to pay the company back, which is terrible. Just make sure, that those kind of situations will not put you in a bind. So if you do that, and then if you do that for a year or two, they have a 1-year contract. Okay, well, a 1-year contract's not too bad. I mean, you need to do it almost, well, you need a year because you're going to need a year's experience to go to any other major or better company like FedEx Ground and some of these others. And then if you were to come to some place like FedEx Ground, then you can probably get your own truck, and then you could make money with a team. If you and your husband like that type situation, there's a lot of opportunities to get on in a team situation. Now in Mississippi, I'm trying to think where the nearest hub would be out of Mississippi for FedEx. Well, I know if you're not too far from Memphis, you can get on at Memphis. That's one of our major hubs right there in Memphis, Tennessee. And if you're in the upper part of Mississippi, that's a good location. And plus, they've got one in Mississippi too. They've got one. What's the name of that little town right below Memphis? Well, not a little town; it's a pretty good sized town. But it's right across the state line in Mississippi. FedEx Ground has a hub there too. Gosh, what is the name of it? I used to have to pull into it. Anyway, that would be we're not far from Mississippi. We're northwest. Olive Branch is where we got a terminal. That's exactly what I was trying to think of. Olive Branch. Olive Branch is where FedEx Ground has got a big hub down there too. Got a pretty good sized terminal. I would imagine that they're pulling teams or always adding teams on. FedEx Ground is busting at the seams on some of these things. We're growing leaps and bounds, especially in my Savannah situation. We have just been awarded 2 more bid runs in Savannah, and we were looking at some more maybe in Charleston too. So we've got trucks based in Charlotte, Greensboro, Savannah, and maybe possibly Charleston. I already run into Charleston, so hopefully I'll get an opportunity to put a domiciled truck in Charleston. That's what we're after. And so Olive Branch would be a great place to check into with FedEx Ground once you get your 1 year experience. It's not overly you can do it 2 different ways. You might even find an opportunity where somebody wants to sell a contract. Now that can get expensive. Some of these contracts sell. If you find somebody that's maybe disgruntled and doesn't want to have a contract anymore, and they've got one at FedEx Ground, you possibly can get in like that. But there again, you still got to have that year's experience to actually drive your own equipment. So if this KLLM will let you drive and get experience with them, then you could do that. And then possibly within a year, you could go see if you can get a FedEx contract at Olive Branch. And that would be a great opportunity for you. I mean, you can get local runs probably or line haul. Now you can buy the contract. You just can't drive it if you don't have that year's experience. Now you can, there's nothing that will stop you if you want to go in there and purchase somebody else's contract that's for sale. That's the way they work. I mean, the contractors actually own their own contract. So that's the golden opportunity. I mean, that's the value of my business, basically. I have 28 contracts, I think it is right now. I have 28 individual contracted runs. And those contracted runs, and of course I double utilize some and a few other things. So I need more equipment to run. It's not just 28 drivers, I can tell you that. I have to actually have more because of the way we operate this. And we maintain about 40 drivers that we have right now. I got 40 drivers and 5 mechanics, and let me see what else. And then we have within FedEx, I have 40 something trucks that are actually contracted in with FedEx. Now, as I say trucks, a lot of those are spare trucks, because once you get to the size that I am, you have to have a lot of spare trucks, not only just the trucks that you have on contract, because it never fails. I mean, they're forever. If you're in the trucking business, and especially the size we are, and we're running, each truck runs at minimum of 2,500 miles a week, it requires a lot of maintenance, even with the newer vehicles. There's a lot of maintenance involved. Now, these are the things that you have to understand when you sign on to be a contractor, when you actually own that equipment yourself. Now, Clay Coon and some of the other people that are also in the trucking business will tell you that it is tough. Well, you can't depend on these dealerships for every single thing. Now, when you're small, you're going to have to. I had to when I started 25, 30 years ago. I had to take a lot of work straight to the dealership. Now, I had some fairly new equipment at the time, had some warranty, but what you will get involved with it, even with that, even within warranty, that does not mean that they're going to stop what they're doing and work on your truck. That means that you can get in line to get your truck worked on. Well, when my business grew to a certain size, I had to quit relying on any kind of dealership because I needed immediate work, whether it was 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. If I had a truck to go down, I needed it worked on immediately. I didn't need for somebody to say, well, we're going to put it in the shop and we're going to get the parts in, then we'll do this and do that. And then a week later, I mean, for instance, I have one in a shop right now. I bought some new trucks and they had warranty work, but I haven't even put those trucks on yet. So I'm going through them with what we want to do with them. And then what warranty work that is out there that needs to be done, I'm taking it to them before I ever put these on with FedEx. And to me, I had the luxury of doing that because I have so many trucks. So although I made the payment on 7 new trucks last week and hadn't made a dime off of them, so I need to get them on the road. But that being said, it's a balancing act. I mean, you're going to have to. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. I'm seeing too much of my ceiling. It's a balancing act, and you want to be able to have enough equipment, but not too much equipment when you're a contractor. I mean, you can overburden yourself with too much equipment and too many payments. You've got to realize how much revenue is going to come in and how much revenue is going to go out. And that is simple math. If you say that I'm bringing in X amount of dollars and I got X amount of dollars I've got to pay in payments, and estimate probably 30%, if it's a used vehicle, figure 30% back for maintenance, whether you do it or not. You need to reserve money back. Now, that's the biggest thing that I see also in contractors, even within FedEx and some of these other places, that they don't reserve enough money back to do their own repairs. And I see guys all the time, especially new contractors, they'll get in there, they're running hard, making money. Next thing you know, you see them in a new pickup truck, or you'll see they're getting a little bit fancy, and then boom, something happens. And I'll give you a quick little joke we used to have. We had a young lady that jumped in. This is probably 25 years ago, and her nickname was Puddin'. And she jumped in there, and she got 1 truck, then she got 2 trucks, she got 3 trucks. She was really looked like, I was, man alive, what's she doing? And she had about 4 trucks going, and then all of a sudden, boom, she was gone. She was totally gone. And somebody came up to me one day and they said, well, what happened to Puddin'? I said, she had battery problems. They said, battery problems? I said, yeah. She couldn't afford that 9-volt battery to go in that calculator to figure out she was too far in debt. And so that's what you can get into sometimes. It's good to grow. Okay, let's see. You've heard about the full maintenance lease. Is it worth it? That's expensive because what you get into, Jessica, now, if you were able to have an established run, and I will say this, if you're able to have an established run, and this would be a dedicated run, this wouldn't be one that's running wild. I mean, you can get out there and run wild with a lot of companies. And this week you're doing great. You're doing 3,000, 4,000 miles. I mean, if you're running team, you ought to run 5,000 miles a week. That's That's what I would shoot for. You'd want to run 5,000 miles a week if you're running team, because that's the only way you're going to make money. Running single, we estimate we'd like to get no less than 2,500 miles a week. I've got them from 2,500 up to 3,200 miles a week running single. But those leases, you got to remember that you're going to have a lease payment, and you're going to have a mileage on that lease to cover that maintenance. So the more you run, the more they're going to make too. So if you run 5,000 miles a week, they're getting 5,000 times, I don't know what some of them are getting, 12 cents a mile or something like that. That's 12 cents a mile out of your bottom line. So you're going to have that base payment, whatever the base payment is for the lease. And then you're going to have that lease maintenance payment too. So you at that point are going to have, you may have to pay $6,000 for that truck that month, for one truck, because leases, I've seen the lease maintenance issues go like that, like from $4,000 to $6,000 per month. Now, granted, if you're making $30,000 that month, then you've got some leeway. But if you're in a company that does not give you that $30,000 a month, and that's hard to do, okay, because you're looking at rates right now. Let's see, if you're making 5,000, you'll gross on team runs and everything, and you got to figure out. I'm doing this in my head, and my head's old and it's slow. So give me a second there. But with us, let's see, you would a 5,000 mile run. You'd probably make. Well, you'd have enough for your salary. Well, and see, that's the beauty of it. Now, here is one thing. I guess I'm not thinking about it. The one thing you can do, if your husband and you are running together, you're not going to have to pay yourself a salary. You should, so you can nest egg that back, but you don't have to. And so if you were to get in there and do that, and you don't have too many personal bills that you need to give yourself a salary out of, then you can do okay. Now, you got to be, it wouldn't be bad if you could get on a short-term lease with a short-term trucking company. In other words, like you're saying, you're going to look for a year contract. That's good. See if you can find something with a lease on a truck on a short term too. Don't get tied in where that lease exceeds further out than what you want on your contract on that, the other part too. Now, that being said, make sure that you can move the same type of equipment from one company to another. Don't ever get tied in where I'm trying to think of the company. There's a couple of these companies that will do a lease option, and you can be a team driver with them. You have to be careful with that too, because they had that design, and I've heard all the nightmares about that. Whereas once you sign that lease with them, you'll get fewer. Well, what they do a lot of times, let me back up. A lot of times you'll sign on, we'll call it XYZ company. I don't want to name the name of a company. But say they say, well, yeah, you sign on us, well, this will be a lease purchase. You'll be a lease contractor. But you got to think about it. To buy a truck, you're going to have a truck. They're going to structure that truck payment. So it's going to take you 5 or 6 years to pay that truck back. Okay, once they put you into that, they are actually the title holder of that truck. You're not. You're going to be paying that payment on that truck, but they own the title to the truck. The reason I know this is I had one of my best friends. He was leased on with one of the major companies. I don't want to say which one because I don't want somebody suing me over it. But he was leased on to him, and he fulfilled his obligation with them. He stayed on 4 or 5 years or whatever, and then he jumped to FedEx Ground. And when he went to FedEx Ground, he had to get a release on that truck. And they said, well, we own the title to it. He said, no, I got the papers. I paid this truck off. I own this truck. I want my title. And it took him 6 months to get that title. He was able to actually get a release enough to be able to put it on at FedEx Ground, but it took him a good 6 months to get a title from that company because they fought him tooth and nail, kind of giving him the shuffle, saying that, well, that's our truck. No, and basically what they're saying, nobody ever really pays them off. Hey, yeah, we always get them back, and that's what happens. They've enlarged their fleet size because what they do on some of those, they'll say, well, we're going to sell you this truck, and they're going, but he'll never pay it off. He'll quit. He'll move on to something else. And that's what happens to a lot of them. So you're basically making the payment for that. And then once you get out of their contract, if you have not fulfilled your contractual obligation, then boom, they basically are like repossessing it at a bank. They're the banker. They're going to repossess that. Now, I haven't heard too many nightmares where it's really hurt people's credit. Some people say it does. Some people, I don't know. I have not seen the paperwork on that. But evidently, there's a lot of trucks that get abandoned from some of these larger carriers like that are on lease contract that want these people to fail. Well, now financing through a dealership. Now, here's the hard part. So you're unfortunately, I don't know your status and everything. Here is the hard part about all of this. It's one of these damned if you do and damned if you don't situations. You've got to have good established credit, and then you also have to have a work history of what you've done. You have neither of those if you're just leaving another occupation going into that. Now, some dealerships, if you're, I don't know your age, but if you've got a good history, a good financial history, and your credit is A1, then you can do something like that. Now, if your credit is shaky, if you're, you're going to be in a tough shape because, check out your financing. I mean, you need to have financing. I would say at least, and you're 29. Okay. All right. I'm ready to purchasing the truck until after at least years, and then 20 and 29. Okay, you're 29. Okay, 29. Then you've got a limited. I don't know what you're at, but at 29, if you've kept your credit clean and you've done well, and your credit's in the high 600s, almost, or 700s, or low 700s, and you can check your. Hey, Rip the Road. Then you probably can do pretty good. Now, I have financed through just about all of the major ones. I've financed through, it used to be GE Capital. I'm trying to think who bought them out. My daughter can tell me. GE Capital used to be a big finance corporation, do it. Of course, Freightliner has their own. Then Chrysler has their own. I've gone through Mitsubishi as a big one. And the dealerships can let's see. Yeah, now getting your own LLC, of course, that's easy, but I would get your own LLC, and you don't have to have trucking or anything with that on the name of it. I'll tell you that too, because one of my, whereas I have S corporations, LLCs are not allowed in some of these. You might want to check on an S corp instead of an LLC. LLCs are easier, but a company like FedEx won't allow an LLC. I don't know why. Don't ask me. They got a room full of lawyers up there in Pittsburgh for FedEx Grounds. Or actually, they have a whole big suite of lawyers, and they don't allow LLCs, but they an S corp. What an S corp will do it will flow back to you and your husband straight through. LLCs, of course, limited liability corporation is what that stands for. It evidently has some ways that some of these big companies don't like. An S corp, I've not seen anybody, and of course, now I used to have a C corp too. I don't like a C corp, so I've been involved with all of those, and but some of the trucking companies, for some reason or another, do not like LLCs. You can get a C or an S, but some of them are knocking LLCs. So I would do that initially if it were me, and make sure that you can get everything, and then that way, I think that would help. Just check on that first, because I think you'd have a little more flexibility with an S than you would an LLC. Now, of course, now some lawyers and everything. I mean, get you a lawyer, get a good financial lawyer. I have one that we use that's he's actually a CPA too. Yes, in a way it will. The S corp, you're going to have to give personal guarantees on just about everything that you establish, even with LLCs too. You're not going to get totally away. In other words, you can't have a bad personal of your jump over here and get an S corp and that you're clean and fresh. That's not going to happen. Just because, they're not going to let you hide behind an S corp or a C corp or any of that just because your personal financing is bad. If you drag your personal financing into it, I mean, and certain parts of this, because think about it, you're the president or vice president, whatever the case may be. So any S corp or major corporation, those officers of that corporation have to more or less sign for whatever that company's buying. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I don't pretend to be. So check with a lawyer to get better explanations, and go on the internet and just read about the difference between the S corp and the C corp and the LLC. Like I say, now you may get by with an LLC. There's a lot of people have done it, but I know at FedEx Ground, they will not accept an LLC. C's and S's is all they're doing, because we actually had thought about getting an LLC. And when I was at my lawyer's office just a couple of months ago, we're doing a major holding company within our, because we're bringing on a younger couple that's going to be helping us, where we were thinking about putting the entire, I have 5 corporations. We were thinking about putting all that under one umbrella and making it an LLC, but we couldn't because of my FedEx Ground contract, because it being an LLC, there's like I said, I'm not a lawyer, and it can get very complicated. Now, I think not to give you too much financial information other than how you operate a truck. I mean, I don't want to do the lawyer part of it. I don't want to do the lawyer part or the finance part too much, because everybody, it's sort of like they were saying, it's like buttholes. Everybody's got one. Everybody's got a different opinion. Everybody's got a different one. Sit down and analyze what you're going to do, and make sure that you're going to be happy with what you've got to do. And you'll probably have to move, you and your husband will probably have to move some of your financing over to the trucking business if you're going to buy into it. But if you've never driven, now let's get back to the very beginning of this. If you and your husband have never driven, I'm assuming you've gone through truck driving school or something like that. Something's made you think that this is the way of the future for you. And it could be, but it also can be let me tell you this, it can destroy a marriage. I have seen it destroy marriages too. So don't think it's too glamorous. because go on a long road trip with your husband in a car and see if you can handle that. How much do you get on each other's nerves and things like that? My wife, is it lunchtime? Is it? My wife she come back and tell me it's lunchtime. Okay, so you're going to go to school in June. Okay, you and your husband both are going to school in June? I'll get you typing. And the truck driver, okay, good. Yeah, make sure, like I said, you need to make sure that before you sign on too much, but basically you're going to throw your life in a little bit of tizzy. So I'm assuming y'all don't have children right now. If both of you are thinking about getting on the road, because that would be a hardship if you have children and both of you are on the road, unless you got a mother or father or somebody that's going to keep your children. So if you're young and you don't have children yet, then it's no children. Well, that's good in that respect. But you've got to realize if you're going to go on the road as a team, husband and wife team, that's basically going to be your home. And then if you don't have a big fancy home or anything, that's probably a good thing. Then you could downsize to your an apartment or wherever you need to, or if you I'm not advocating going back and living with your parents, but if you had a place at your parents or something like that to just come home to, because if you're going to sign on with some of these teams, that truck is going to be your home, and you're going to be involved there, and you can make some money that way. You can make some money if you get with the right combination, and you want to get out there, and y'all want to put all your resources together in a pool of being able to do it. Then you could make some money. You could get some serious cash. Okay, you're giving up your apartment at the end of the month. Okay, well that's probably not if you got a place just to call home for a few days and then you come back home and then you're out on the road and you can get signed on with a company. Now there's some nice trucks out there. Of course, you got to remember that it can get even that can get old real quick, because if that's your entire livable space, let's say, that's going to be confined. So make it a nice truck, and you need to understand that there's, of course, you need to. There's going to be bathroom etiquette and just a lot of different things. Just because you got a refrigerator and a TV does not mean that's everything that you need to live in and to live good. And you're going to be on the road, and that means you're going to be at everybody else's bathroom. Going to and that's a lot. I mean, you got to think about how you're going to keep yourself clean amongst yourself. In other words, I know I would be stinky as all get out if I was out in the truck 4 or 5 days with my wife, and she wouldn't come near me if I was, hadn't showered in a few days or whatever. And you get in. Of course, you won't be able to get showers, but there's a lot of things that you're going to have to actually think in your mind what is going to be really convenient. So don't be enamored by a good-looking truck, because it won't have everything. I mean, of course, you'll have your phones because you have your cell phones. You'll have your tablets probably. You'll have that. You'll have maybe a TV. If not, you put a big tablet that will have. You can get YouTube videos and YouTube TV. You can get a lot of different things on the road that you used to not be able to. But it all boils down to that you won't have the bathroom amenities that you're probably thinking about of an apartment. And you're going to be at the you're going to be at the mercy of whatever truck stops you go into. Some of them will be nice, some of them won't be so nice. You can probably figure out that. I mean, you can get in, when you get into your TAs, your Loves, Petros, and some of these others, they're mostly nice. If you get into a route situation and you're going to the same location all the time, then you'll know where to stop and which ones have the best amenities and where you can relax and a few things. You're exactly right, Jessica. You're going to have to give up a lot, but it's an adventure. And if my wife knew how to drive a truck, I probably could have made more money doing that as a team years ago. She hates the trucks. My wife, I've got some real nice trucks, and she does not like getting in a truck. I will tell you that. So it's not a great life for some women. So it takes a special kind of woman that wants to endure that kind of hard life, I'd say. And you as a woman, be cognizant of your surroundings and everything, because women, even to this day, get there's a lot of wolves out there that will take advantage of a woman. So you be careful with yourself out there, and don't let other people give you a hard time, because they can, and you'll get. I mean, it's not the best environment. Now there are a lot more women out there driving now. When I first started seeing women on the road, and the reason I'm saying I'm so old, there were almost zero women when I first started. I mean, it was a very, very, very rare occasion. When I remember back in the late 60s, early 70s, there was one woman that I saw that was a lease driver that used to come to Carolina Freight. And she, I don't know how she did it. She was just a little small lady, but she used to run produce back and forth from the Carolinas back to Florida and Carolina. And she would trip lease loads out of Carolina Freight going to Florida, because she was pulling, so she wouldn't have to go empty down. And don't know how she did it. I don't know how she did it. And this was 40, almost 50, close to 45 years ago. And it was tough. Well, guys, I'm going to get off. I've been on here about 45 minutes already, and I've enjoyed chatting, especially Jessica. I've enjoyed talking with you. I hope you and your husband the best. My wife has come in, and she came out, stuck her head out and says, lunch is ready. So I need to go eat lunch. So I wish you a lot of luck. If you want to get on and chat with me some more about the trucking business, I'll give you my opinion. It's totally my opinion. I mean, I've been at it since 1967 when I initially started in the trucking business. Of course, I was raised in it. My father was also in it too. He worked 38 years at Carolina Freight Carriers in Cherryville. And so trucking has been my family business for years. And I feel like I'm as fairly knowledgeable about it as most people would be. I'm not the best. I've been successful with it. So I wish you a lot of luck, and I'll talk to you and other people. And JC, get back to work, and I'll. I'm going to eat lunch. Go get my salad. All right. See ya.